In the event you're just watching what's happening in the world right now, and if you're paying attention to what's happening regarding what used to be called the Republican Party, let me give you a couple of rules here to understand. Number one, forget parties. Parties mean nothing. Parties are the cool kids in high school that thought they ran the show, the ones that they thought everybody wanted to be like. No. Today's Republican Party has nothing to do with Barry Goldwater, Teddy Roosevelt, Ronald Reagan, the Southern solution, none of that. It is a completely different animal altogether. And what is happening right now is so seismic. And I've talked to people I know in the business here in New York. Well, New York, I don't know what the hell they're doing, but I'm saying, do you understand? Think of it this way. We're like A&R. We're a music label. And we've gone from rock to grunge to the Ramones or whatever it is to rap. And somebody is saying from the old school, that doesn't matter. That's not important. No, it is important. It's changing. Pay attention. I don't care what you think. I don't care if you agree with this. It doesn't matter. I don't care if you miss this. Not you, but I mean you, collective you, whether you understand who these people are, who Turning Point or Charlie Kirk or Erica Kirk or this. It's not a soap opera. It is this internecine battle that is going on. And let me give you a little bit of a perspective. When Ronald Reagan came along, Ronald Reagan and then sort of Nixon, they revamped and retooled what was the Republican Party at the time. And during the Nixon years, he met with this feller named Strom Thurmond and a lot of Dixiecrats and found out that there were a lot of disenchanted erstwhile Democrats who don't recognize their party anymore because they didn't like where the country was going. They were conservative Democrats. So the Republicans reached out and said, join us. They had a big tent. And in this tent were new people who never thought about being Republicans. The moral majority and the religious right in the 80s, that was Reagan. The gun crowd, the Dixiecrats, some people who frankly were not thrilled with civil rights advances. Okay, welcome aboard. Remember the Tea Party group, the Constitutionalists, the libertarians, the people who we are. People who believe in fundamental rights, the right to be able to opt out of vaccines, the right to question. All of us should be subsumed and included under this huge tent. That is what's happening. And this monster movement was TPUSA. And a lot of folks who either watch cable news and aren't aware of it, they didn't see what was happening. I interviewed Dick Clark one time. I said, what was your biggest regret? He said, he basically panned the Beatles. He didn't think the Beatles. He didn't see the Beatles. And a lot of people didn't do. So what I'm saying is, that's why this is critical. If you ask yourself, is this guy talking about Tucker or Candace? Yes, because this is seismic. And the question I have to ask you is, are you ready to fight, to stand up? It's the only question left. Steve Bannon asked that most eloquently. Are you ready to fight? Not with fists or weapons, obviously nothing violent, but with resolve and discipline and intellectual fortitude and faith and action. Because what is happening right now, dear friends, I'm telling you, is not random. It is not accidental. They are coming for Trump. And by the by, they're coming for you. Because they've identified you as being pro-Trump. And you might say, well, I'm not. No. Be not mistaken. No. This is MAGA. This is Trump. This is Charlie Kirk. This is Republican. This is conservatism. This is No. They're coming for us. Don't ever think like, well, I'm sort of, no. The enemy is very, very determined to wipe us off the map. And that much is obvious. But understand, they're coming for you and what you believe in and your family and your values. And they are coming for anyone who refused and refuses to submit. Anyone who noticed the pattern. Anybody who recognizes what's going on. Anyone who chose loyalty over a sense of safety. Donald Trump, as wacky as he may be, as crazy as he is with the ballrooms and the Walk of Fame. I mean, this man did not have to come back. He had every reason after 2020, and you know what happened in that election. Come on, stop it. You know what happened. He could have walked away richer, quieter, untouched, more powerful, more immune than ever. But no. Oh, you think he needs this? He made a conscious decision and almost gave his life for it, as Charlie did. But he made a conscious decision to return because he understood something fundamental. He understood that millions of us, millions of Americans, we did not quit and we don't quit. He understood that people still had his back and the back of the cause. And he understood that leadership is not about comfort. It's not about what's easy. It's about obligation. It's about duty. History does not remember the cautious, the careful. It remembers those who show up when it matters, when it counts, when it means something. And if your purpose is to save our country and our constitutional republic, because it's not a democracy, that country can be saved. And that's not poetry, that's history. Nations fall, we collapse only when the people decide that we're not worth defending. Now you know the story. The men in Boston Harbor didn't know how their story would necessarily end. They knew only that submission and abnegation was worse than any kind of risk they could suffer. Okay? 250 years later, the question is not whether you admire them, whether you like them. The question is whether you're worthy of them. Are you? This isn't some metaphorical war. It's not a melodramatic phrase. It's a political war, an ideological war, a cultural war, a spiritual war, a cold civil war. One that we do not want to turn hot, and we do not need to turn it hot if we do what we're supposed to do. And that requires you, my friend. That requires action. Not hashtags, not slogans, not liking, but action. What scares the ruling class is not noise. It's organization. It's persistence. It is results. That is why Charlie Kirk mattered. Charlie understood, before most people did, that this was not about some debate club or clever arguments. It was about building a coalition, building a machine, a disciplined, well-oiled operation capable of delivering victories. And deliver victories it did. Let us be specific. Over the last decade, there have been 8 national elections that mattered. Primaries, midterms, presidential elections, and the movement won 7 of them. 7. It's not an accident. It's not luck. It's infrastructure, messaging, turnout, discipline. And that, I say again, is why they hated Charlie Kirk, hated him to the point of wanting to kill him. And they did. Remember this. Not because of his personality, not because of his faith, not because of his wife, not because of his looks, not even because of his arguments. They hated him because he produced results. And he proved that populist nationalism was not some theory. It was an executable strategy. And that terrified the bejesus, whatever the hell a bejesus is, of the establishment on both sides. In 2016, Trump won a primary he was never supposed to win. Then he won a general election he said was impossible. Remember how he just slaughtered that group. This was his first election. In 2018, the movement got complacent. People, to use Bannon's line, I like this, leaned on their shovels, kind of became complacent, lackluster, tired. The House was lost, and Nancy Pelosi told you and told everybody exactly what she was doing and what she was going to do. And she did it. Impeachment was the opening salvo, and Trump came back, and he crushed the party. And in 2020, millions of Americans believe the election was not as it seems. And that belief is not fringe. It is foundational to the movement today. Whether elites like it or not, it's fundamental. And that same night, Republicans picked up House seats, which almost never happens historically in a losing presidential year. Then something interesting happened. Then Trump was exiled, or so they thought. That's when Charlie Kirk went to work. While consultants were busy writing eulogies and eulogia and donors fled, Charlie built and built it up. He organized, he trained, he recruited. He believed Trump would return when nearly everyone else assumed he was done. And Trump himself said it very plainly. He ran again because he could not allow the country to be stolen. In 2022, Republicans took back the House. Not as big as it should have been, but enough to stop the bleeding. Then came the greatest political comeback maybe in American history. A return that defied lawfare and indictments and prosecutions and media pylons and these phony polls and coordinated institutional resistance. That does not happen unless the people are with you. And the people were with him. Charlie Kirk understood that. He also understood something that was interesting. He understood that the fight was not just about elections. It was about sovereignty. About who decides our fate, who decides for America. Americans or external interests, you tell me. Whether it's Americans, us, bureaucracies, NGOs, WEF, Klaus Schwab, globalists, intel agencies, ideological enforcers, who? Oh, no. Charlie was a populist, nationalist, an American through and through. And America first, not as a slogan, but as a governing principle. America, listen to me, America makes decisions for America. Americans make decisions for Americans, for us. And that belief put them at odds with powerful factions, powerful groups that dress themselves up as allies. And this is where the conversation gets really uncomfortable, okay? And that is precisely why it matters. Charlie was unapologetically supportive of many, many things. Supportive of Israel's right to exist and to defend itself, and so is Trump. And so are most people in this movement. Everybody's for that. I think I'll go so. Everybody is for that. That is axiomatic. But Charlie also believes something that the establishment apparently refuses to tolerate. And it comes down to this. U.S. foreign policy must serve U.S. interests. Not ideological crusades, not endless wars, not expansionist fantasies, wherever they are, that drag Americans into conflicts that do not protect us and the homeland. There is a big difference between supporting an ally or allies and subordinating your sovereignty. Whatever the country, whether it's Israel or whether it's Ukraine or whether it's Crimea, doesn't matter. It does not matter. Focus on what this is. Charlie knew that difference. He fought it quietly, behind the scenes, inside the White House, inside policy discussions, on message platforms. And he pushed against efforts to entangle Americans in another global disaster. No more foreign wars was not just some slogan to him, or I think to us. It was a moral position. It was a recognition that a lot of what's being presented to you is a sideshow to a sideshow, and that American blood and American men and women should not be spent and sacrificed to satisfy other nations' ambitions. America first is not an expression, it's a directive. And that stance made him enemies, powerful ones. And let us be clear, this is not about free speech or platforming. That's a distraction. This is about power politics, plain and simple. This is about who controls the direction of the movement and the country and us after Trump. After. How deep is the bench? Who's next? This is about 2028, whether people want to admit it or not. Charlie presented continuity. He represented discipline. He represented a movement that could survive beyond one man, one slogan, one term, while remaining loyal to its principles. And that is why they tried to poison his legacy. And all of his affiliates and all of his friends and all of his associates and all of his acolytes who are saying, wait a minute, Charlie doesn't stand up for this. And that's why you have these fights between the Shapiros and others. See, that is why they mock and they minimize and they try to rewrite history. That's why they want to get a crack at reinterpreting it. Remember what Tolstoy said, history would be a wonderful thing if only it were true. See, these people, they fear victories more than words. Charlie also believes something else that terrifies the ruling class. Listen to me carefully. That America was founded as a Christian nation. And you can argue this, and believe me, there's plenty of room for it. But this is what he's saying. Treaty of Tripoli notwithstanding. But anyway, Charlie said, and many people believe, that America was founded as a Christian nation, and that it lost its moral compass, and that recentering faith was not some kind of extremism, but a restoration. A restoration involving a society that recognizes that without some shared moral framework, it collapses into control and coercion. That's simple. He believed that this country could not be re-Christianized, what am I trying to say? That it could be is that even a word? I'll call it re-Christianized. Not through force, but through example and ideology and leadership and courage. And that belief, and this is what's important to understand, listen to me carefully, that belief is why populist nationalists who are openly Christian and say so, remember what Candace Owens, she got into it where she says, Christ is king. Oh my God. Wait a minute. Since when do you can say whatever you want? That's another issue. But a lot of people who are openly Christian, it frightens the establishment. No authoritarian, no tyrant, no group ever wants a group of people who feel as though their destiny is determined or bolstered by religious belief. Faith creates loyalty that cannot be purchased. And it creates something which is even more dangerous, courage that can't be regulated or controlled. And faith also creates a meaning that cannot be replaced by consumerism. That is why they ridicule it. That's why they hate it. People don't want people of faith. They want lemmings. They want intellectually cored out automatons walking around like zombies. Charlie Kirk was a man of action. He wasn't just some commentator. That's why they killed him. He wasn't a philosopher. He was a builder. And builders are always more dangerous than talkers and yammerers and people who just spout nonsense. Now the question becomes this. Painfully simple, dear friend. Who's next? Are you it? Who's next? Are you willing to show up, to throw your hat into the proverbial ring, not to run for office, but to be involved in this? Are you ready to do something when it costs you something? Are you willing to be uncomfortable? Are you willing to be mocked? Oh, get ready. You've been through this. You probably, I'm sure you might have been disinvited to a Christmas party or something because of Trump. But it gets even worse. Are you willing to be disciplined? Are you willing to do the work instead of a lot of people who just sit back complaining? Because let me tell you something. If we win in 2026, this movement continues, this force. If we lose, they will unleash everything they have. Lawfare, financial warfare, cultural warfare, institutional warfare. There will be no restraint, no brakes, nothing. And Charlie Kirk knew that. And Trump knows that. And you know that. Where we are right now, you and me, this movement that we're a part of, this is going to decide what happens next. Not just for us, but believe it or not, for kids and grandkids, this is going to set the tone. This sets a momentum. Remember, things work in 15, 20, 25-year increments. Victory is not inevitable. Don't ever think that for a moment. But defeat is also not predetermined. And it comes down to whether we, those of us who are part of this, whether we step forward or we step aside. What do we do? And the lesson that Charlie Kirk left was not martyrdom. Please don't ever think that. It was responsibility. Who's next? Who's banding? Who's on deck, as they say. So, my friends, I thank you for this. Pay attention. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for your incredible comments. Please join in. Comment. I read them. They're incredible. And everybody is welcome. You may not agree with me. Tell me why. You may not like what I'm saying. Tell me why. But this is America, and you have the right to say something. That's why this AmFest, what Ben Shapiro did to me, is so antithetical to Charlie. For him to say, Tucker, shut up. Candace, shut up. And say, wait. Do you know where you are? You've heard it before. Thank you, my friends. Please like this video. Subscribe to this channel. Subscriptions, only 50, 60% of the people actually are subscribed. I don't know why. But also comment. Comment in the section. I've got some questions. Comment. Your thoughts. You're important. People read them. They're critical. For you to spout, to spout your brilliance, to exemplify your brilliance, to comment as you see fit.